Hello, my name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast, Shorts. There's no co-host on these Shorts episodes. These are now around 6 to 8 minute long observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 6 to 8 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book that has been sitting in your Amazon queue that you just haven't been able to bring yourself to purchase for around the last 6 months. When various factions in any conflict possess confusion about their own motives, their behaviors, their choices, and the consequences of their choices, those factions rarely possess clarity of thought, much less clarity of action, or even moral clarity, which can be a real challenge to getting resolution to the aforementioned conflict. The world of moral murkiness we all operate in the postmodern West didn't develop by accident. When philosophy supplanted religion as a means of obtaining knowledge about how reality functions, intellectuals began the slow unraveling of meaning, starting in the late 1860s. Scientific theorizing then came alongside philosophy and supplanted understanding reality through the lens of nature with understanding reality through the lens of mere mechanical process. All of this revolution, of course, led to the consequence of moral relativism, which has always been around, by the way, embodied in the actions and the behaviors of the ethically challenged. Moral relativism always leads to each man doing what is right in his own eyes, which invariably leads to conflicts of increasing interpersonal violence, because every man always judges himself rightly, and others not so much, and the devil take the hindmost. Nihilism, atheism, existential dread, and moral relativism then combined in the 20th century in a toxic soup that became so distracting, poisonous, and acidic that it led first to moral confusion in the late 20th century, then to moral weakness in the early 21st century, and finally to moral surrender, which is where we currently are in the 2020s of the 21st century. Leaders at all levels, from family to community to the workplace to the civic government, leaders have a responsibility to resist such surrendering of morality and moral position, especially in the current cultural and geopolitical moment we live in. When other people are morally confused or just engaged in self-aggrandizing deception, leaders have a responsibility, nay, I say they have a cross to bear, to stand athwart that moral confusion and to speak mightily in solidarity with moral clarity. To paraphrase from the great Brooklyn rapper Jay-Z, leaders should always thank God for any moments of moral clarity, for those moments of moral honesty. They should also take any and every opportunity to expose their moral clarity, not to the slings and arrows of those who possess no such clarity or don't have the courage to go get any, but instead to those people who are desperately confused, perplexed, or just naively innocent. The fewer confused factions we have in a conflict, the closer to resolution we can lead people to getting. And well, that's it for me. Thank you for listening and subscribing to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast. If you're listening to this on any of the major podcast players, like iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, please go ahead and leave us a 5-star review and write a little bit in there. A couple of sentences is good enough. That actually helps us game those algorithms that I was just maybe addressing. And, of course, it helps us grow the show. Tell all your family, tell all your friends, and tell the leaders in your life that you know that need to be listening to this show that this show exists. By the way, if you want to get started on the leadership path yourself, or you know some people who need to go on the leadership path, HSCT Publishing, the home company of Leadership Toolbox and Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast, can help you and your team do that. So check out our training webinars, coaching services, and more at leadershiptoolbox.us. We are remote, we're live, we're in person, we're on video, and we've got leadership development solutions for your civic group, nonprofit staff, public sector staff, or even your private sector leaders. And of course, you're going to want to check out our video-based subscription service at leadingkeys.com. That's leadingkeys.com for leadership development on demand. You don't like videos, you don't like training, but you really like the podcast? Well, I would also recommend reading a book. Matter of fact, I'd recommend reading my most recent book, 12 Rules for Leaders, The Foundation of Intentional Leadership. You can get that in paperback, hardcover, or as an ebook on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Ingram Spark, and any other place that you order books online. Finally, of course, we're on YouTube just like everybody else is. We'd love to have you help us grow the YouTube channel, so like and subscribe to the video version of this podcast on the HSCT Publishing channel on YouTube. Just search for HSCT Publishing, or you can search for Leadership Toolbox and hit the subscribe button. Subscribing helps us grow the show, as it does with the audio, just is the same with the video. All right, that's it for me.